One of the reasons we often have to file a lawsuit is insurance companies just don't want to be reasonable. We just talked a minute ago about, oh, hey, look, there was somebody who was drunk and speeding in the rain, rear-ended somebody and caused an accident, and the insurance company was iffy if they thought their driver was at fault.
Yeah.
I mean, do you see that a lot where
Yes.
insurance companies don't want to be fair?
Yeah, even if they're wishy-washy in liability, once they accept liability, that does not mean that they're going to pay a fair settlement amount. Oftentimes, most of the settlement ranges, at least initially before filing a lawsuit, is roughly medical record, or maybe if you're lucky, you get the actual medical bills.
Right, and we've seen cases where, there's $2,500 in medical bills. The person was injured at the accident, $2,500, and the insurance company is offering to settle it for $2,000. Mm-hmm. Screw you, we're going to sue you.
What do you do? Yeah, you have to file a lawsuit.
You have to file a lawsuit, and sometimes that that gets them to make a fair offer. It's typically the way that it works at an insurance company is the adjusters have a certain set of authority. They all have these complicated computer systems. There's a pretty famous one called Colossus. I think it was developed by Allstate. And they enter all the stuff in the computer, and the computer says, okay, you can settle this case from this range to this range. The adjusters are going to get bonuses if they're at the lower end of the range. If they're at the higher end of the range consistently, they're going to have problems at work. But no matter what you do, you can't get that adjuster to settle for more. Something I've tried to live by is to never take no from an answer from someone who doesn't have the authority to say yes. And most times the only way to get to that person who has the authority is to kick it over to a lawsuit. And then it goes from the adjuster's hands to a lawyer. And reasonably often, I'm not going to say all the time, but enough to call it often, the defense lawyer is like, yeah, I don't know why they didn't settle this case. And then they'll give us a reasonable offer and we get it handled.
Yeah. I mean, one great example is we had someone with about $18,000 in medical bills. Their top offer was $17,000. Filed a lawsuit. A couple weeks later, they gave us $50,000 for the client. So there's a lot of power whenever, like you said, they don't have the authority to say yes.
Right, and they also know, the insurance companies are learning that when they see Dustin's name or they see my name or they just see the firm name on documents, they know we are absolutely willing to go to court and fight for our clients. The name of this game is fighting 100%. If you want to get a good settlement, if you want to get a good resolution, you just have to keep fighting.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's, if you're on the fence, hey, my accident wasn't that serious, maybe I can settle it myself. You could, sure, you absolutely can give it a shot, but if we do something like run the other driver's record, which we as attorneys have the ability to do, it changes the settlement discussions with the insurance adjuster when we say, oh, by the way, your driver's a really bad driver, look at all this stuff, and they're like, oh, yeah, we probably don't want to maybe fight this one as much as, it's a squeaky clean driver. So.
Sure. Or they may have been driving under the influence, and you'd never know. I mean, the adjuster's not going to give you that information for free.
No,
there's no reason to.
No, of course not. And we talk about we're always willing to file suit, and sometimes the adjusters won't give information that we need to know, like how much is your case worth? That's one of the biggest questions that we get asked. Well, how much is your case worth? Almost always depends on, how big is the insurance policy? If you have $100,000 in medical bills, but the other driver has a $30,000 policy, sad to say your case is probably worth $30,000. Yeah. But all the time, adjusters, well, I don't want to tell you how much the policy is. All right, fine, sue you. Now you have to tell us. Yeah. And now we know what your case could be worth.
Absolutely. And even if you talk about that one situation where you have $100,000 in medical bills, but they have a $30,000 policy, one of the things that luckily we can do is we can negotiate with the medical providers to get what's called a reduction, which just means we're trying to get your medical bills discounted. And so that's one of the real powers of having an attorney on your side.
Right, and we do that routinely. In almost every case that we have, we will go back and I know that we had one person that I think it was a $90,000 bill because they were so severely injured at the scene. We had to have a helicopter fly them to the hospital. And I mean, 90 grand, that's pretty big. And because there was only, there was less than $100,000 in insurance coverage, we had to go to them and negotiate. And they negotiated it down very much. So we were able to pay all of the medical bills and still put some money in the client's pocket. Versus had the client settled the case himself, he might have ended up with nothing and just assumed, well, crap, and I settled my case and now I still owe the helicopter company money, let alone everyone else.
Absolutely. I mean, those bills don't go away either, so he'll be on the hook for them.
One of the other nice benefits that we bring to the table with experience is Dustin has an uncle who was an executive for many years at one of the top 5 insurance companies in the country, and we've talked with him a lot, and he's told you some things that kind of surprised you, if I understand.
Yeah, there are several things that just surprised me in general, but one of the biggest ones is that the adjusters get bonused for giving out less money, and so they have a very, very high incentive to not give settlement. So if they can pay less, they get more.
I'm sitting here trying to remember, there was a specific case where, if I recall, somebody accepted a $500 settlement and there was a serious injury. Do you remember what the facts on that were?
Kinda. It was a $500 settlement, I believe, on a severed finger. It was something.
I think it was a hand.
It could have been a hand, but it was something absolutely ridiculous. Even if it was a whole hand, it was on a child. They went and before they could get to an attorney, they offered $500. The family was in need. They accepted it. Once you accept it, you can no longer sue. You no longer have a claim. You're just waiving all your liability.
Right, and insurance companies can do things that we can't do. I can't just walk around the hospital and say, oh, you were in an accident. Do you want an attorney? We're not permitted to do that, but the insurance companies can go, oh, you were in an accident. Here, why don't you just take this $500 and go away? If there's one piece of advice that we would say with dealing with insurance companies is, please do not sign anything until you have a lawyer look at it. I don't know if that family that accepted $500 for the loss of their child's hand, if they understood what they were doing, I don't know, but I do know that any attorney worth his law degree would say that $500 is a little bit low for a loss of a hand. Yeah. Insurance companies are not in the business of playing fair. They're in the business of making money, so that means they want to settle every single case for as low as they possibly can. And we have a lot more resources to tell you maybe what a fair value is. We can go to our law library and we can run reports. Cases like yours have settled for this amount of value. We think that your case is worth this range to this range, but you know what? You also got a ticket for speeding, so maybe you're discounting it this way. We've got that kind of knowledge that we bring to the table that the people who don't do this for a living wouldn't have.